Hello everyone, my name is Gilliam and I'm going to present the art Mudejar. Mudejar art is an artistic style that developed in the Christian kingdoms of the Iberian Peninsula, but which incorporates influence elements or materials from the Hispanic Muslim style, and it is the consequence of the existing conditions of coexistence in medieval Spain, and it is about an exclusively Hispanic phenomenon that took place between the 12th and 16th centuries as a mixture of the Christian, Romanesque, Gothic, and Renaissance and Muslim artistic currents of the time, and that served as a link between Christian cultures and Islam. Mudejar is a term used to refer to the Muslim populations that remain in Christian territory after the advance of the Reconquest, preserving their religion and their own rich culture. Mudejar art is the most representative of Spain in medieval times. It is not grandiose but peculiar and more personal. This peculiarity is given by its border character between of the Christian North and the Muslims. For some historians, Mudejar art is a period of Christian art in which Islamic decorations appears, and for other historians, it is a epigon of Islamic art. It was the result of the coexistence between Muslims and Christians in the Iberian Peninsula. Being a unique artistic style, Mudejar is a word that means one who has been allowed to stay, referring to all those Muslims who remain in Christian territory while these kingdoms advance towards in the south. After the respective conquest of Zaragoza and Toledo by Alfonso VI of Leon and Alfonso I of Aragon, this style began to develop, in which stone was replaced as the main material of Christian Romanesque and Gothic art by brick, plaster, and masonry, chapter materials that allow faster construction, thus intermingling the elements of Christian and Islamic arts, resulting in unique works that fulfill Christian functions but were built and decorated with Islamic materials and elements such as geometric and floral decorations or horseshoe arches and delo arches. The most striking of these constructions was the use of plaster and glazed ceramics in order to decorate, resulting in a series of tremendously decorated structures compared to the sobriety of Christian buildings. Mudejar art does not have a unitary artistic style. Each region expresses its peculiar characteristics, such as a Mudejar from Toledo, Andalusia, Leones, and Aragons. Some of the most representative Mudejar works are the clock tower in Miranda de Arga, the church of San Irineo de Valtierra, and the church of the Esteban de Arguedas, also the hermitage of Santa María la Real del Yugo. The architects of Mudejar art vary as the Reconquest progressed, thus there is a first Mozarabic Mudejar, the result of the population of the Duero in the 10th and 12th centuries, and Moorish Mudejar of the territories conquered from Al-Andalus from the 13th century onwards. The types of Mudejar architecture. Mudejar art has different variants. On the one hand, we can speak of Romanesque Mudejar and Mudejar according to the typology of buildings and architectural elements used in this structure. On the other hand, considering the creation and functionality of the building, we can speak of the courtly Mudejar like that which was built by territorial lords creating grandiloquent palaces and castles. The popular Mudejar associated with architecture built for a religious purpose, from which came cathedrals, churches, and mosques in Castile, Toledo, Aragon, and Andalusia. As a curiosity, many synagogues also follow the Mudejar style, and it is because the great Jewish presence in the Iberian Peninsula and that they did not have their own artistic style. They took advantage to build according to the Mudejar model. There are Mudejar civil architecture had a special developed during the 14th and 15th centuries. And as an example, we have Los Reales Alcázares de Sevilla, and is the most important complex built on the remains of an Almohad palace. Its patios with a delicate and abundant decoration are famous. Civil architecture had an influence on other civilian places, such as the Casa de Pilatos and Casa de las Dueñas, the Palace Convent of Santa Clara in Tordesillas, and those of the Alcázar of Segovia. Other art is the Mudejar military architecture. There are also famous breastworks in military architecture, such as the Puerta del Sol in Toledo from the 14th century and the castles of Coca in Segovia and La Mota in Medina del Campo. The minor arts. The modern culture was much more than architecture. Goldsmithing, ceramics, the textile industry, leatherwork, pottery, etc. are also important that achieved great popularity. The concept of Mudejar art was developed by Amador de los Ríos, who read a speech on this same style in 1859. From then until today, this style of art has been called Mudejar. Possibly this art was the most represented Spain in the medieval period, and the most curious the thing was that it was not highlighted for being a great art, but for being a personal, a very original art. We can distinguish different styles in different areas, among which we highlight and the brick Romanesque style, the first Mudejar constructions that from the second half of the 12th century occurs in León and in the two Castillas. The city of Toledo stands up where all mosques are converted into church, with monuments such as Santiago de Rabal, with a freestanding tower in the Italian Romanesque style. In Castilla y León, another important regional variant of Mudejar was developed, the so-called Castilian Leonese Mudejar or brick Romanesque. The best examples are in the province of Valladolid, San Miguel de Oledo, Ávila, Arévalo, Madrigal de las Altas Torres, and Segovia, San Andrés and San Esteban de Cuellar, with an original decoration of blind arcades and squares on top and cook. This style is spread to the west, Zamora, San Lorenzo de Toro, San Salamanca, and to the south of the central system, Guadalajara, Madrid. The characteristics: plants with one of the three naves with beam pillars, vaulted semicircular apses with simple roofs, exterior decoration of double arch of middle point in the headers, in 2 or 3 bodies alternate with rectangles, tower in the hand and sometimes in the transept. Gothic Mudejar. It is the most important period of the Mudejar architecture in Spain, from the 30th to the 50th century. The place where this style occurs most in Toledo. As example, we have the Church of Santiago del Arrabal, with doors with an ornamentation based on angled horseshoe arches, tower with abundant decoration. We also have as an example the Jewish synagogues of Toledo, such as Santa María la Blanca, with Almohad influence, and El Tránsito with Nazareth influence. The Western Mudejar style. This style can be seen from the Tagus River to Portugal. Aragonese Mudejar style. This style had its own particular characteristics we can find in Jalón, Hilioca, and the Ebro valleys. Mudejar art can also be seen in Extremadura in Andalusia, especially in Cordoba and Sevilla, as well as in the Valencian community, although obviously this style of art can be seen in other cities of Spain. Some keys of this art. The success of this artistic style is given by the fascination of Christians for Islamic art, the mastery of Mudejar master builders, the economy of style, and the decline of the influence of French art. It is an art style that has several peculiar characteristics in each region, among which the Toledo, Leonese, Aragonese, and Andalusian Mudejar stand up. This diversity is due to the chronological factor of the Christian conquest of the territory of Al-Andalus, the consecration of fortresses and cathedrals of the primitive mosques after the Christian conquests of the Muslim territories led to the creation of new constructions such as a palace and temples that maintaining that mixed character typical of the Mudejar, giving rise to original buildings where the Romanesque, the Gothic, the Renaissance, and the Baroque would merge with the Islamic heritage. Brick and plaster walls, horse-shoe arch, wooden ceilings, tiled floors, etc. They were thus combined with the successive Western architectural language to live the particular lesson of coexistence and mutual learning. Main characteristics of this type of art is it is present in church, palace, castles, walls, etc., used by the alfices and lob arch, and it is the synagogues since they use Muslim art. They are similar in structure the Christian and Islamic temples and lack human figurity motif using large inscription on their walls. Mudejar art is an artistic style exclusive of the Iberian Peninsula, largely functional and characterized by the use of expensive materials such as brick, plaster, ceramic, and wood within highly versatile work systems. It adapts perfectly to the development of artistic forms dominated by the essential importance given to the decorative elements, often repetitive without defined spatial limits, occupying the entire ornamental surface by means of panels of intersection arcs called sepka, geometric compositions with lace work and stars, use of glass ceramics, stylized plant elements. Its main characteristic is eclecticism, a mixture of elements of Hispanic Muslim architecture with Christian architecture, whether Romanesque or Gothic. The abundant Islamic decoration guides the poverty of the materials, bring arcs, imposed diamond knitting, sepka, dresses, shakred patterns, herborn, and other imaginative and diverse combination with brick. The construction in Mudejar art were in the hands of Mudejar buildings who were a cheap and qualified workforce, although later the Christians themselves did it. The Mudejar found its maximum expression in architecture, in general construction of religions, nature, although civil buildings were also made. The ground plan of the most of the church is rectangular with one or two naves with a semicircular apse covered with a crater, which is covered with a flat roof of pearl and nuclear trusses that is usually towered in the strip or on one side, decorated with blind arch that become vein and as the rise. And this is all for me. Thank you for your attention.